It's a Monday. That means we talk some baseball with our guy from Root Sports, Bill Krueger. You see him on your television. Now you see him here at Puck Sports on YouTube. You listen to him here on Apple and Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. It's brought to you by Rise Above Foundation. NativeYouthRiseAbove.org is the website. Bill Krueger, former player in the majors, analyst, longtime analyst, Root Sports, with us every Monday to talk a little M's baseball. Well, it's been a week since we talked. Some good and bad, and the Mariners have stumbled, but they ended their series, Bill, with the Astros on a winning note. So we'll cover it all this week. A lot's going on. A lot's to cover. We got the Ty France being waived, the Julio Rodriguez scare, and we are about a week away there from the trade deadline. First and foremost, though, how are you? How was your weekend? Everything good?
It was good, yeah. Our daughter came to visit, which is great. So it's always fun to have her around. And beyond that, it's just this mundane life that I lead, this very flashy life of being on a farm that doesn't really have a lot going on it, except that there's a lot of things still to do, even though there are no animals on the farm.
Okay.
But it keeps me busy. I watched way too much golf when I wasn't working outside. So there you go. Probably not too much different than you. You probably watched your share of golf.
Who doesn't love yeah, of course. I love it. I love the Open Championship. The Masters is my favorite, but I've said this many, many times. The Open Championship is not too far behind for me. I love it because I love links golf. I love everything about it. I love how the weather can wreak havoc on these guys, and it's not normal for them, and they struggled just like the rest of us.
They did.
I appreciate it.
They did. The wind died down. It was disappointing. When the wind blew
that's
on
right.
Sunday.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. All right. Well, that's a nice distraction from what happened to the Mariners. They lose 2 out of 3 there to the Houston Astros. It was not a good week of baseball. They have seen their 10-game lead in the American League West on June 18th disappear in about a month. And now they are in a virtual tie there with the Houston Astros. How do you sum up this week of baseball for the M's?
The frontline pitching was great, but beyond that, there just wasn't much to write home about. They scored a little bit on Sunday. It's funny watching baseball teams play now. It's like they get happy with a couple of games. They got all their leverage people, and if they run out of leverage people, they just go, okay, we lose this one. Just throw the sidearm righty against Luke Raley. Why not? Perfect. 3-run homer. Well, whatever. We won 2 out of 3. I just watch baseball sometimes, and they're trapped because of the fact that we have the 3-batter minimum. It just, again, anything we can do to speed the game up and rob the strategy. That's what I always say is always a good thing, right? Why throw to first? Why have the pitcher think? Why have a reliever come in to match up with somebody else? Why have the pitcher hit and all the strategy that comes with that? Why have all that stuff? It slows the game down, right? Anyways, the Mariners played better on Sunday. There was obviously a lot that went on in that game that's a little distressing, but it was good to see them score 6. Obviously, if they can score 4, they're pretty dang good. Mm-hmm. They struggle to score 4 an awful lot, but just a little bit of uneven play, a little sloppy the first couple games. That's not the Mariners. Astros show you why they're a good team. They are able to get hits when it matters, and the Mariners don't necessarily have to bludgeon teams. They just got to hit when it matters a little bit more.
Right. Well, what did you make the after the game, after they wrapped up their 3-game series with Houston? They salvaged the win on Sunday. We'll get to Brian Wu's performance here in a second, but the announcement they placed Ty France on waivers. The fact they put him on waivers surprised you rather than just outright DFA him? The thinking that went into that. Overall, were you surprised by that announcement by them?
A little bit. They're obviously trying to get to a place where they felt like he might be tantalizing for the market at $2 million. Maybe someone's going to come in and take his contract, and then they end up working on a deal. They get a little something for him. They open up the spot for Locklear or until they find somebody on the market. This was probably something that was been thought about for a long time. This isn't by accident that it got out. It seems a little bit awkward at this point since he's irrevocably on waivers. That means he's gone. It's just a matter of timing. I don't know what that looks like when we walk to the park today and we open the door. Is he in there? Is he not? They used to do waivers kind of behind the scenes. And there used to be revocable waivers. You could put somebody on, they could take him back out. And if you put him on the second time, he's always gone. But I know that's all changed. I'm not an expert on waivers. But what I can see is the Mariners are hoping somebody takes him. They think that maybe there's a market for a guy that has been a very good player, except the last year and a half, he hasn't been quite as good a player, but he can defend. And there are some places that maybe think that they could fix him a little bit. And maybe $2 million isn't too high a price to bring a Ty France on, and maybe he helps you. Maybe you can fix him and he gets back on track a little bit more. And then they kind of, usually those things usually force some kind of a deal to be made. And then you see Locklear, and then you see the market at some point at first base.
But his struggles have gone on for quite some time, right?
Yeah.
What was it? What can you pinpoint of why it seemed like that he had a play where he collided, where he had the shoulder injury, where he collided with somebody at first, and that was a couple of years ago, year and a half, and he just was never the same. What stood out to you about him?
I thought he was just a natural hitter, that he got his chance and he relished the opportunity and he went out and he's always been able to hit. It just always been able to hit. He just had no place to play. When he was in San Diego, they had a guy at second, they had a guy at first, they had a guy at third. No place for him to go. No DH at that time. So he gets moved to the Mariners. And when the Mariners got him, they're like, is he a DH that doesn't hit homers? And then by the fact that Evan White went down, it opened the door for Ty France to play first. And he showed he could really play first. I mean, he's a small target, but he can really play first. He was an excellent defender. And then he showed you that he could hit. He's a 280 hitter with a higher on-base percentage than baseball in most cases, and doesn't strike out as much. And he did that for a couple years. And then, like you said, it just seemed to tailspin after his shoulder injury at first base. But as I look at him, what I saw was this. He saw his profile and said, you know something? If I'm going to get paid as a first baseman, I got a homer. And when he made that decision to start kind of going a little bit more for getting out in front, get the bat hat out a little bit, try to lift some pitches, he started to chase and he started to try to pull, and he came off pitches. And then he just wasn't Ty France anymore because he thought, I can't hit 10, 15 homers and hit 285. The league doesn't like that. The league wants lots of strikeouts and 25 plus homers. So he tried to be that and he couldn't. And then he tried to retool it. And to me, it's sort of like you can't change the naturalness of you as a hitter. So this is problematic.
He was an old school baseball player, just in terms of like his number of home runs when he had 20 back in 2022. That's when he was an all-star.
Yeah,
that's kind of where he should have been.
That's where he needs to be. A guy that could hit.
He didn't need to chase above and beyond that.
And it took him off what he did well. Yeah. And I wished he could have somebody would have came to him and said, "Hey, Ty, love what you're doing. Try to hit 40 doubles, man. That's your goal. Sure. Try to hit 40 doubles, and we're going to love you. We're going to take care of you. We're going to pay you. We're going to take care of you because we like that player." But I don't think they like that player. Baseball doesn't like that player. He felt the pressure to be more than he was. And now, and you change things. I'm telling you as a player, I've had everybody's got their unique way they do things in sports. We're all different. We're all unique. But when you try to cookie cut people, sometimes you need to be able to listen and make adjustments, but you can't make wholesale changes. You lose who you are. And when you lose who you are, then you're not the player. And to me, he made some changes, but he lost who he was. He's got a lot of movement. He's got a lot of movement in his swing. That's natural to him. When he stopped making that movement, he just wasn't the same. He wasn't the same. Now, maybe he could get shorter to the ball, but he's just not the same guy. He's going to have to go back. Maybe this will allow him to go because he deserves another chance. He's going to get another chance to play, okay? He's a good player. He's going to get – I know first base is we got to have a big slugger, But I still think there's a chance for him. And what he needs to do is say to himself, okay, I got to get back to where I was before. Not be an idiot and not understand adjustments, but getting back to the hitter I was. If I were him, I'd look at tape of myself hitting. If there's tape of him when he hit 399 in Albuquerque, I'd be looking at that over and over and over. And I look at the stuff we did the first year and I watch it over and over and over. Watch when you're doing well. I know that's not the topic of the discussion here. It's more about, well, why is Ty France gone? Well, we know why, because they didn't like him there anymore, because he can't hit like they thought he could hit. And they want power.
Yeah.
And so it's going to change. They're going to open up a slot for somebody to come in. Locklear's going to get some chances here for a week. They like him down the road. That's what's happening.
If you go back into the second half of that 2022 season, in the second half of that year, he hit 9 home runs. And so since that second half of the 22 season to now, 29 home runs over a course of, almost 2 years. And so it's just, it goes back to your point of, did he change the style of what he tried to do and chasing that long ball and getting away from the player that he was in those first 2 years in 21 and 22, when he was, 18 home runs, 73 runs driven in, but he's got OPS of 813 that year, and then the second year in 2022 where he was hot in the first half, cooled off in the second half, but again 20 and 83 with an OPS of 774. Ryan Divish had noted, you mentioned Locklear a couple of times. I think we all assumed Locklear would be coming up, but he also mentioned this other guy, this Jason Vosler guy, who they might bring up instead, a 30-year-old, had a cup of coffee in the majors, 3 different teams. He's been in Tacoma, that he might get a look-see before Locklear does. I don't know if you know much about him other than, kind of what you see down in Tacoma or what you read, in terms of his stats. But would that be disappointing if they went with him rather than Locklear? So from my perspective, it would be.
Well, I think it's just these small cups of coffee with a player that needs to play every day.
And we're talking about Locklear. You think Locklear needs to play every day?
You get a guy that's retreaded a few times and you spot him there, here, and there. And if he does something, Yahtzee. If he doesn't, who cares, right?
Yeah.
But with Locklear, you care. You want him. Like when he was up here and they wouldn't make a move there, they had Bliss and him just sitting around. That was just not good for him. Look what's happened to Bliss. He looked like he was something and he fell off the cliff. These guys need to play every day. They're not veteran. I can sit for 4 or 5 days and play. Okay, you're going to play Locklear, you got to play him. You're going to play him every day. And they're probably going to play Rayleigh there and figure out the outfield. I mean, when does Canzone come back?
You think they'll platoon there with Rayleigh and Locklear?
I would assume. I mean, makes sense because he can put Rayleigh in the outfield. He can do a lot of things, and his bat is important to this team. And so, and we looking for we play every angle. We play every righty-lefty matchup there is that God can think of. Boy, oh boy, don't we? I mean, we can start in the second inning. Let's just start the musical chairs of playing the matchup.
Yeah.
I mean, my gosh, right? Guys get 1 at bat, they're out. It used to be that you kind of earned a day sometimes. You get 2 or 3 at bats, even because sometimes the pitchers come back to your side of the game. Maybe they flip a guy in there once and then he comes back to the other way. But you've already moved on because you're playing the matchup game, right?
Yeah.
The Mariners play it to the nth. Right? Because they're looking for anything to happen offensively.
It's hard. I mean, I don't – it's everything they've thrown against the wall offensively. Just it doesn't nothing is stuck for them. I mean, I don't know. It's got to be aggravating for them, right, to come up with different strategies and different things to do on a daily basis. I mean, listen, you got a leadoff hitter right now that's under 300 in his on-base percentage. I mean, I don't think J.P. Crawford should be hitting leadoff anymore, but I don't know who you replace him with. The only guy I can think of would be Robles. And let's see what Victor Robles can do hitting leadoff. He profiles more as a better leadoff hitter anyways because of what he does once he gets on the base paths. He's old school, Bill. He kind of creates havoc and, he's exciting. But again, I don't know if you put him there. I mean, his sample size is kind of small. But at this point, don't you try anything?
Sure. He's swinging the bat pretty good right now, so he's going to play. If you swing the bat, you're going to play. I'm telling you right now, I'm excited for him, but he's a mistake waiting to happen. What
do you mean by he's a mistake? Like if they play him more, what's going to get exposed?
I mean, these are subtle things. He's had 3 fly balls. 2 of them he ran away from. Yesterday he had one that looked like he was going to lose. He's from the Caribbean. I mean,
so you think
he's played in the sun before? And then he had the ball. Was it yesterday or the day before? He had the ball that went down the corner. That was yesterday, right? And he fumbled it around and lobbed it in. I mean, he just misplayed the ball at the wall. He had a play in the first game of the series where he lollygagged it, and Alex Bregman had to freeze because he didn't know if the ball was going to be caught. There was a play at the plate. Instead, he lobs the ball into second base, and there's a play at the plate.
Right.
He scares me out defensively. He scares me.
Okay.
I mean, I think he dropped the ball right to him the first game he ever played out there. I think he's on borrowed time defensively for me. Offensively, he's great. Maybe he can DH, but right now we're a little short in the outfield, so he's in the outfield. I mean, he could run, but that doesn't make you a great fielder. I mean, and he steals with abandon. I guess that's okay. I mean, sometimes you kind of wonder, is he gonna get picked off at the wrong time? Is he gonna run? You know, when you got an RBI guy at the plate and you can run like a wind and you're at second base and there's 2 outs and you steal third. I mean, that's just okay. Great. You get over to third.
Is there a trade-off though with him? Like he's the only
make it. Okay.
He's the only one. Yeah. But he's the only one doing anything offensively.
Yeah. No. He's offensively. He's a talented guy. He's a projected guy with the Nationals to be a great player, and he
rated higher than Soto.
But there you go. Now you can see if you look underneath the wrapper a little bit and you see what's going on. You watch the play in the outfield. It's just wow. Scares me a little bit, but his offense is good, you know, and maybe that's the answer. I mean, you've got some chemistry there. You better be careful with. I mean, they've done it to Rodriguez. They moved him down, and you better do better. And then he does better, and they move him back up. JP's going to tell you, well, you know, look at my BABIP. You know, look at how many balls I'm hitting hard that are getting caught. And there's some truth to that. He's hit some balls hard this season, and they've been caught. But when I watch him hit, he is a back leg, Ted Williams kind of swing, trying to lift the ball, trying to hit the ball of the ballpark. To me, I don't know how he's going to replicate that year he had the year before, unless they pitch him like Ruth and he walks because they're afraid of his power. Because his swing is all or nothing. That's what I see. He takes a big cut, right? He hits like he's a slugger, right? Yeah. Instead of being a guy that's a little short of the ball. There's just not enough guys that want to be short of the ball. He
should be we go back to the old school, right? He should be more. I mean, you look at his career numbers. I mean, he should be more of an old school shortstop. But that's not the profile of the position anymore.
Right.
It's not a guy who hits 9 home runs and drives in 54, but has a high on base percentage. It's not
I love the player.
and good defensively, right? The Ozzie Smiths of the world. That's over. That spot.
I mean, they all going to hit. They're all going to be the prototypical A-Rod and hit the ball of the ballpark.
But he's not that.
No, he's not. And last year was a great year. I mean, he had a great year. No denying. He hit the ball of the ballpark. He had one of the highest on-base percentages in the game. He did his job. And that was when they had buried him at the bottom of the lineup, and they kept trying to force Rodriguez to be the leadoff hitter, and they realized Rodriguez strikes out too much. So they had to do something, and it just stumbled into it by default. And then all of a sudden he did the job because he doesn't run really well. Now, he's stolen some bases recently when he's been on base. He kind of realized, I got to be able to push the game a little bit. I'm leading off. I got to be able to do that a little bit. It was good to see him do that because I've always thought, why doesn't this guy run a little bit more? He never runs. He's got to be a good runner. And then, you know, sure enough, pizza-sized bases and no throws over to first and pitchers not slide stepping all the time. I mean, it's like free candy, right? If you can run.
Do you think he is, we talk about drive line a lot, right? We talked about drive line with Ty France, and obviously it's whatever they worked on in the offseason, you know, and again, this is not a commentary on drive line. I'm not to say, I mean, you always hear the success stories that come out about driveline. You don't hear the stories of guys that don't have success. But these were the 2 last guys that went there, right? And I think it goes back to your original point with France. He's a guy trying to lift the ball, trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark. You know, the JP Crawford, there was a lot of success and praise given to driveline a year ago about what he did. And then, of course, he has a career high in home runs there at 19. But now if you look back on, you know, this year and really who JP Crawford is, he's not a double-digit home run guy. He's done it one time in his career. Do you think you have an organization or guys, they spend time this offseason trying to do something and change something with their swing to become a player that maybe they just can't become that player? Do you see similar parallels between the two?
Well, I think players make their own decisions. They have their own coaches. They have their own agents. They make their decisions of the type of player they're going to be. I don't think it's coaching. I think coaches are facilitators. That's what I think. That's where the game stands. We need internal leadership on a team. You need players of veteran stature that can influence how players are playing and help them. And right now, we're kind of a rudderless ship in that regard. Our best players can't do that. Rodriguez is uber talented. I mean, he's a house, and he runs like the wind, and he's got tremendous skill. But he is not progressing as a hitter. He's not progressing. You're saying, well, he's just a one hot streak away. No, but he's not progressing. He was a better hitter his first year. He was less last year, and he's struggling this year. He has no plate discipline. He's got a long swing. He can't seem to stay off the ball off the plate. In my day, pitchers pitched in and out. They would analyze him, and they would be able to prey upon him. Right now, he is benefiting by pitchers that are inexperienced, pitchers that are interested in what? Velocity and spin. How many whiffs can I get? And not really understanding how to attack a guy that honestly is swinging at everything. He's an interesting hitter because you watch him and you say to yourself, is he making up his mind before the pitch? Because he'll take balls right down the screws and then he's swinging off the plate. And you say to yourself, and he hits the breaking ball for a strike. That's the pitch he hits every single time, unless he absolutely just stone guesses fastball and gets it. He's so strong. Oh my gosh. Can he get to a place? Can he visit? Could Miguel Cabrera give him a call? Because there's a guy that's so much like him that became a tremendous player. That's Latin descent, that had an unbelievable career. And how did he hit? He stayed off the plate. He was very much inside the ball, right? That's how Julio hits. He's got to learn to take the ball inside and say, no, I'm not swinging at that at all. I'm looking out over the plate. But he can't seem to do that because he has no plate discipline. And he's our lead dog. So where does everything fall from there? Where's the leadership? Where's the discussions? Where's the let's have a better two-strike approach inside the team? Where is that? Now, granted, do we have the best players? No, we don't have the best players. There are better lineups out there, but we need a little bit of grit with two strikes, right? We need a little bit of effort to try to chip the ball into play. I mean, Brett Boone, remember Brett Boone in his huge year where he hit 35, 40 homers, right? Drove in 130, hit 330. He got down in a crouch with an open stance and choked up with two strikes. I guess he did it, right? Where is that in baseball? It's around. The good teams have those guys. The Astros put it in play. They're not perfect. They're playing without Tucker. That lineup is like, really? When I look at that line, it's kind of, really? You got Alvarez, you got Altuve, and you're like, really? The rest of it's not like shaking the tree. Doesn't like get you. Doesn't like grab you. They're pitching. That's how they're winning. And they get some juice from the guy in the middle. But they're not a great hitting team. But they do put the ball in play. And they don't strike out as much.
So you don't get as encouraged as much of what you see from Julio, what he's done in July to start off. Like you still think that's not anything that he's done any better. But I mean, he's in 375. He's slugging 688. His OPS over 1,000. But you think that's more of him not adjusting, or is it just more because the pitchers are challenging him with pitches that he can easily hit?
Well, he's really talented. And he gets lots of chances, lots of swings, right? And he's going to swing. I've never seen a great hitter end up on the other side of the plate on every swing. Have you? Have you watched a great player end up in the other batter's box on every swing? He does. Where's his balance?
Yeah.
Has
that not gotten any better though for you, or no?
No?
Is that still the same that it's been in the whole year?
It's gotten worse. Oh, I don't know.
It's got. Well, what I'm saying is that when his hitting instructor came, and that was kind of everything that they worked on. I'm asking, in July, have you seen his stance, his approach get any better, or it's just the same that it's been all year?
Just looks like the same position, hand position. Got the hands, and he tilts the bat forward. He forward presses the bat and makes a swing long, and he can be attacked. But if you're going to throw him 87 cement mixers, he's going to do some damage. Plus, He can hit a jam shot. He can hit a two-hopper. He can get a base hit. He can keep his average up because he's uber talented, okay? To me, when you watch great hitters, they're shorter to the ball. He needs to learn how to be shorter to the ball. He's plenty strong enough, but we're so caught up and raptured in exit velocity. Well, it's like golf, man. You can go to the long drive tour, and their swings are really long, right? The guys that are short to the ball with great hitters. They were talking about Todd Helton, and Dan Wilson was on the game yesterday talking about Todd Helton making the Hall of Fame, and he made a comment and said Todd Helton was a guy that could wait so long before he made a swing decision because his bat was so quick. You go back and watch great hitters, they're shorter to the ball. He's too long. I'm sorry. He needs to flatten his bat. He needs to do something. He's got to make, like I told you, I told you what I thought. Get off the ball in, look at the ball out over the plate, start seeing the baseball a little bit more. Hey, people don't want to walk him because he is an instant second base. Right. He is an instant second base if you let him run. He doesn't hurt himself. Like now he's hurt his ankle. Probably won't run the rest of the season now because they'll tell him he don't want you to run, right? Hopefully he's going to be okay. Look, the player's got incredible talent and he's still helping us and he's in a good streak. I agree with all of that and maybe it'll continue, but I think it's continuing because he's just so doggone talented. Yeah. I don't see the progress. I don't see the refinement. That's what I'm getting at. To be the best player, to be the straw that stirs the drink, we need a little bit more. So what does this club need? Oh, you can go and chip around the edges and go, oh, I like that guy. He gets on base. Oh, he doesn't strike out very much. You know what this team needs is an anchor hitter. Anchor hitter with a resume. That's what they need. Anchor hitter with a resume. Yeah, can we get another guy to go with him? That'd be great. Some guy that lashes the ball that can run and gets on base and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's good too. We need an anchor hitter because Julio can't anchor the team. He's still learning. And that's nothing wrong with learning. Hopefully he's learning, but you handed him the keys to the city, right? You gave him the Uber contract, right? It
sounds like you want
playing hard. He's playing hard. Yeah. It's not like that.
Yeah. You want my guy Guerrero. I've convinced you on Guerrero. Well, but the fact is Toronto's not going to make him available.
He's not going to come here. I know. That's not going to happen. No, I'm sorry.
It's too bad. It's too bad.
So, but it sounds like I'm really picking hard at Julio, and I think he's a tremendous talent. I think he's. But
isn't it a little? Let me just ask you.
And all that.
But isn't it a little unfair though? I mean, we're not. I'm just saying this entire organization's putting it on his shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he has no talent.
They made him the best player right out of the chute. They hand him $20 million a year for.
Yeah, but everybody would have. But that's a smart business move on their part. It was.
Yes and no.
Yeah, I mean, I would tend to agree. I don't know what the no is. You got him at a discount of what he can be.
True. But yeah, I'd rather see him develop before you hand him the keys to the city. I'd like to see him play with his hair on fire for a while.
Okay, but I don't think we
got 6 years of control. You got 3 before he becomes arbitration eligible. But what
if he had? I mean, you give it another 2-3 years, and then you're talking about a price tag that is.
I just think a half a season is not very long.
Yeah,
because you cut that contract a half a season. What major sport has given the keys to the city like that kind of money to anybody in any major sport after one half a season?
Well, what did the Padres do with Tatis? I mean,
how's that turned out?
Well, I mean, he's pretty good this year. Well, I mean, he got himself in trouble, but he's turned it around. He's been pretty good this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say this, though, but I mean, have they done enough to put talent around him? I mean, he can't do it. It's not like the NBA, right? I mean, he can't just do it all himself. He needs talent around him. Yeah.
No, he can't. He needs to be be the player that he can be, try to get better, keep working at his game, and he needs other guys around him. Yeah, he needs another guy for sure. This team needed another guy, but they just can't. Either because they can't get a free agent to come here because they just won't spend the extra year, the extra money. And, I mean, we discussed this, right? They understand now, I think the club understands everything. They really do. Jerry and the team, they understand everything. Everything. They're constrained by ownership, for starters. Then they're saying to themselves, I get it now. We need to develop hitters. Where's our hitter? All our hitter talent is in A-ball. Mm-hmm. That's the problem, is that we have a wonderful core right now. We got this bundle of starting pitching, and then we got the catcher, the center fielder, and the shortstop, and the closer. They're all controllable. They're all young. They're all not there yet. This is the time. This is the time when you're at the craps table, you go, I'm going to put a pile of chips on the 6, and I'm going to put some on the 8. The pass line's over. I'm going further.
Yeah.
it doesn't mean you're going, field bet and hard 12 and all that crazy stuff.
We are getting a mind into your gambling ways. You like craps.
I just think it was timely, and maybe there is some problems. There's some problems because you ask JD Martinez, 1 year with the Dodgers. Well, would you give him 2 in an option?
Yeah.
No, we're not going to do that. He's not worth that. Well, that's kind of the problem, right? You have to pay more.
Yeah.
Or what about Soto? That's an interesting topic. What about him? They wouldn't do that, though, would they?
Well, they've never opened. I mean, other than Julio, they've never opened up the wallet for these guys. And I think this is the problem that I think a lot of Mariner fans have. Whether you agree or disagree with this, is that they're going to get to this deadline, which is a week away. They've come out here last week. They both Hollander and Dipoto kind of do the interviews. And I know what they're up to. I've been doing this long enough to know what both the purposes of those interviews were. The purpose of those interviews were to tempt expectation at the deadline. So fans are going to get prepared if nothing big happens. And they're going to say, well, it takes 2 to tango. Now, there's truth to that. There's so many teams that are still in the playoff race that it's going to be hard for them to pull off a deal just because everybody wants those players, or the player that you want is on a team that's still in contention. But I think that the fans like myself and others would say, this is why when you get in the offseason, you don't have to use your prospects. You just have to use your money. And they have routinely not done it. Year after year after year. On the same time, they sit there and tell everyone that this is the year they're going to do it. And then this last year, instead of doing what they said they were going to do, they actually slash payroll. And so I'm not going to feel, I don't think Mariner fans are, Mariner fans are not going to feel sorry for them, nor should they believe this when they get to the deadline and hear them complain that there was no one to deal. They created this mess themselves because the last 2 years they decided we're not going to spend any money.
I think this team is being run. I mean, we're talking about the front office. I think I think they understand everything. They found pitching under rocks. I mean, they've found guys that have helped them that nobody else liked, and they've done a good job of actually leveraging all they can control. But when you have an ownership group that doesn't want to spend the kind of money that maybe you need to spend, that's not the front office's fault. I mean, that's not Scott Service's fault. It's not Cherry's fault. I mean, that's coming from another place. And to understand the dynamics around that, where they were the most profitable team 2 years ago and they were number 5 last year. And of course they had the big drop in revenue from the negotiation with Comcast, and where does that put them? And they had to do deals where they just had to shuttle people out the door just to kind of get the salary down so they could start maneuvering forward. And then trying to kind of patch it together after the first of the year with guys that maybe were neglected or were guys that were not at the top of the market. Not easy, that's for sure. And, just finding a little bit more production. And whether or not there's something there, whether or not that's the thing I see is that we strike out at an epic clip, right? But who are you as a hitter? I mean, that's the question I ask. Who are you? Are you a 25 to 30 home run guy? Because if you're not, you better get yourself a 2-strike stance. You better figure it out. You better try to put the ball in play, okay? And whether or not that's really, and granted, you can't write it on the chalkboard. These guys know they get paid for hitting the ball in the ballpark. They don't get paid for putting it in play. But the club knows they need to put it in play, don't they? I mean, They need more put it in play. We've watched teams, and, those are the balls that dunk in. Oh, look at that. That was like 86 miles an hour exit velocity. Oh, my God, look at that. Oh, geez. You're like, yeah, it's because the ball traveled. He got jammed. He let the ball travel. He flicked the breaking ball in, right? Because you can't nose everything up, because that's the game. The game is to find the holes, the Wee Willie Keeler approach. Hit them where they ain't. I mean, there's not enough of that. Everybody's standing on one side of the field still. There's all that room out there. I mean, there's still the shortstop's still standing right behind second base with his side of his foot right on the line.
They're gonna have to change that again in the offseason. They're literally gonna have what they're gonna have to do is put a circle. We're gonna have on the infield like a circle, like a key in basketball, and then they cannot leave that key. Hey, before we could talk about this, you and I could talk. We could do like 3 hours.
You know,
we really could.
Getting back to like we seem a little negative. They really can pitch.
No.
They really can. And Wu threw the ball great. I don't really understand why he pitched on Sunday.
Okay, so now I wanted to ask you this before we go. But hold on. And I will take a timeout because I want to address that real quick. Yes, I don't want it. It's hard. I don't want it to come across as negative. I just think that they are so close to being so good and have been for the last few years, because of what they have done with their pitching but it's just aggravating when you watch them offensively. It's so hard. It's a hard watch. I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy home runs and strikeouts. I want put the ball in play and move guys and let's run a little bit. And when they do drop a few bunts down, that's why I like Victor Robles a little bit. And then Polanco got into the act a little bit. I enjoy that stuff. I'm not saying you got to live and die by that, but it is a nice change of pace. And I think I'd like them to be more diverse as an offense. And it's just, I don't, the 3-run home runs are fun and all that, but, striking out 11, 12, 13 times, it's just leaving runners at second base. It's hard. I mean, Sunday they played a good brand of baseball, extra base hits. They drove guys in, the Dylan Moore triple, all that stuff is fun. They didn't strike out a bunch. I think they only struck out six times. Yeah. But I think I think the frustration from fans is that they're so close. So very close, and it doesn't take much to get them over the edge, especially with their pitchers. All right, that's my TED talk. Yeah, now on the pitchers.
Yes.
I'll said it last week, and I remember when we talked about this last week, not you and I, but with Divish and then with Jim Moore. I knew Brian Wu was going to pitch well on Sunday because we sat there and like, why is he pitching? But I knew he was going to do well. And this was never a commentary about Brian Wu as the pitcher. I love Brian Wu. I think he's fantastic. I think he's got all the talent in the world. His whole thing is just staying healthy, being available and all that. I still don't understand why Logan Gilbert didn't pitch. This was a big series against your rival that's breathing down your neck. He's your best pitcher. I don't understand it. You could have pitched him on his normal day rest. He could have even pitched on an extra 2 days rest, but they've elected not to.
He could have been optioned down to AAA and taken another turn and then pitched, and then you would have kept his work going. But they're so adamant on making sure they don't lose one drip of his talent in a real game. They'll put him in when he's not even ready to pitch yet. He wasn't even ready when he came up. He hadn't pitched enough to be ready for his first start. And why you wouldn't take your best pitcher and have him pitch in the series that matters against the Astros, it doesn't make sense. What they do is they say, okay, where do I think a guy like Brian Wu has the best chance to succeed? And honestly, he has a better chance against the Astros because they're very right-handed, particularly without Tucker. The Angels showed a little bit of left-hand hitting. He had a little bit more trouble with them, didn't he? Logan Gilbert, he misses a day, and then we put him back in there, and no love lost. We just moved him for a day. What's the big deal, right? All the games count the same amount. But where I come from, you play your best guys against the best teams. You play your best guy right out of the chute. Yeah. Because you want him to pitch as much as you can possibly pitch him. He's totally healthy. What's the big deal? Brian Wu could have gone down and pitched again, and then he'd be ready for a turn late in the series against Anaheim. Why didn't they do that? Let him go down and pitch. Was he just a China doll? He's going to crack? We use him someplace else. He's going to crack. I don't know. I don't understand it. It turned out great. He threw the ball great. He dominated. He's everything that they'd hoped he'd be. It worked out great. Mm-hmm. Logan Gilbert is absolutely a prince of a guy and all team. And, he just will do whatever you ask him to do.
Sure.
And not say anything.
He'll never rock the boat. He'll never let anyone know how he really feels.
It's just baseball has just become so interesting. I mean, it's just so interesting.
Yeah.
The quality start.
Well,
I
but
mean,
but
we lead the
I
league in
just
quality starts, and I just don't.
yeah
I mean, it's like that's great. Quality start came along whenever it came along before we decided that pitchers couldn't pitch more than 5 innings.
yeah.
Because man, this team needs more from their
But
starters,
I just think
and
it
and
goes.
hopefully they'll try to get more from them.
I think you said it in its simplest form, though, that you want your best players to perform, play against the best teams.
Yeah,
And that's what I thought they missed out on. But
yeah. I mean, I've been in rotations. It's not like we end up with the. It's your turn, and you're the number 5 starter. That means it's
yeah,
your turn to start the next series after the break. No, we take the best guy with the right amount of rest, and he starts the first game because that's the way you play. You play to
yeah,
win,
yeah.
and it worked out.
Right there.
Brian
You
Wu
play
could
to
pitch.
win. Of course he can. And it was
Always.
never a commentary about that. It was never, ever that Brian Wu is not good. Everybody understands how good he is. And he showed it on Sunday. It's just that guy's your best pitcher. And you were losing a lead and you lost a lead in the division, and you want that guy right out of the gate, right out of the chute to stop it. I mean, I said this too. I think it was Divish on Friday. What do you think the Astros thought when they saw that he wasn't pitching? You think they went, oh, man, that sucks? Or do you think they were like, thank you for not pitching him against us? I mean, it's obvious.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, he's got too many. Gilbert needs to not pitch so much. I mean, these guys are at the peak of their capability. I don't think, missing a day is going to change Gilbert's pitch load. Like I said, if you want Brian Wu to work, he could have gone down and worked.
Sure.
You go down and throw a start, and then actually that would have been good because he throws a start, he gets his pitch count up, and then you have a little bit more of a seasoned guy. He's got his feet underneath him. Right. He's got his arm strength up. There's just a lot more he's able to do. He's got his rhythm, all that stuff. It's nothing but a plus. Go down, have him pitch a game, and then come back up. I mean, that would have been easy.
That would have been the easiest and probably the best thing to do. I appreciate you. I appreciate your candor. I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate the long extended visit. You're the best. Thank you for doing it. Bill Krueger joins us every Monday. It's brought to you by his foundation, Rise Above Foundation, Native Youth, riseabove.org is the website. Bill's every Monday. We drop the episode on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast, YouTube Music. By the way, for all you Android users. And, of course, you can catch all of his stuff and all previous episodes at pucksports.com. You're the best. I love our conversations. Thanks for doing it, as always.
You bet. Have a good one.